because the structure and the production of the song, the choices and the effects of these choices was so skillful that I was intrigued, delighted, and totally engaged by the whole thing. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hey, the Audiophiles. My name's John. His name's Andy.
It is.
Oh, somebody took the papers. Somebody's got the key. Somebody's nailed the door shut that says, "Hey, what do you think that you see?" But me, I'm down around the corner. You know, I'm looking for Miss Linda Lee because she's got the power to love me by the hour. Gives me WLOVE. More on that later. But first, we've got a song to listen to from Andy's selection box.
Mm-hmm.
Not the coffee creams, please. No. What have you got?
No, back to the drawing board. No, I have an act called Murder by Death. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, it sounds like a black metal band. Not. So spoiler.
It sounds like a TV show. What was the show we had Jason Schwartzman in and Ted Danson?
Bored
You know
to
what I'm talking
Death.
about? Yeah.
Bored to Death. Well, what's actually it is they do get their name from a film. So it's they're taken after,
It
maybe
does.
a television show on HBO, but
It does. Murder by Death sounds like it's a comedy thing, isn't it? But anyway, something like that.
all right.
Yeah, it does
Well,
sound vaguely familiar, but no, I've not heard of a band, Murder by Death.
okay. Good. Well, the track by them that I'd like you to ride off and give a listen to is called Riders.
Okay. So this isn't a saucy novel in the highfalutin world of jockeys and horse races, is it? Written by jockeys.
No. Interesting about that first
Thank God
part,
for
but
that.
no, definitely not about
Thank God.
jockeys. Yes.
Okay, that's cleared up, so I'm now prepared to listen to it. Yes.
Excellent. We'll go off and do just that. Come back and let me and whoever's going to tune into this know what you think.
I was about to go into something there, but it's a great start. And I don't know if it's because I'm tired or whatever, but it already feels quite emotional. It's just really nice piano and those strings. Just it hits the right spot straight away.
Horses coming over the ridge. What a pretty sight. I spy a Palomino in the front, but something isn't right.
Yeah, there's atmosphere. Oh, I'll pull that back. When I just stopped it changed obviously into the next bit, and there's a sustained bit that carries on through it. And he's got, I think I heard slight sort of reverb to his vocals, which I know I've said in the past sometimes pisses me off, but here it's just, it gives that sense of air and space to it. Yeah, that just really struck me. That's cool. Right, I think
Horses coming over the ridge. What a pretty sight. I spy a Palomino in the front. But something isn't right. Slack Joe, meat hanging off their bones, death in their eyes, 4 scraggly riders on their backs, and only open plains, nowhere to hide. So let 'em ride. Let 'em ride.
Really nice strings.
Where the green runs deep and the river's wide, they've crossed your threshold and come inside without permission.
There's some lovely bits here. Again, it's like use of space. It makes it feel like it's epic, even when it particularly isn't. It's not doing much. So that really nice acoustic guitar coming in. Before that, the strings, violin and cello. I think the two of them together. Cello is one of the saddest instruments you could hear anyway. With the two of them together, it just sounds like, I don't know, mother and daughter consoling each other. There's that mournful quality to it. It's lovely. And then you get these piano notes as well, and then that sort of organ coming in there was just beautiful. And I quite like the first one when we went to the chorus. It was like this bit of, but it wasn't over dramatic. It was just he hit a slight peak and then carried on. This is really interesting the way this song's constructed. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Against your wishes, flying across the night sky, it's auspicious, drawing down the moon. Each time. So let 'em ride. Let 'em ride.
I am stopping at something. That again is that sort of 2-note sliding motif that was there earlier, but now it's more predominantly the cello. It's almost, again, swaying, almost stirring. Yeah, really, really nice. And That was almost like a bit of early Robert Smith guitar just then. I really enjoyed that as well. Um, it's all about there. It's really nice contrast throughout this. Rising. It's like a whole sort of box of toys to enjoy. Really, really like that. And there was some emotional content in the music as well. I felt it sort of stirring me. Um, I caught some of the lyrics at the start, something about four riders, and which immediately makes you think of, the apocalypse. Um, I think that last minute or so where they went full on, it kind of almost felt a bit biblical in a way. Um, yeah, this was great actually, and not only enjoyable but really impressive as well, and intelligent. Um, yeah, a lot to like here. Um, I have to find out some more about Murder by Death. Um, so let's go back and talk to Andy.
Okay, ridden on back. What
Hmm.
do you make of this song and Murder by Death?
Okay. So, as you know, and we've said this before, there are certain production techniques, in my view, heavy-handed ones, that the way they're used to manipulate the listener, creating artificial drama or tension, I think actually display a lack of ability, creativity, or even a lack of faith in the work. And these instinctively get my heckles rising, and it is like a subconscious reaction, which I then usually try to rationalize. And I found myself doing the same thing in this track, but for entirely the opposite reason, because the structure and the production of the song, the choices and the effects of these choices was so skillful that I was intrigued, delighted, and totally engaged by the whole thing. So from the opening seconds, the opening dozen seconds or so, I had to stop it because the plaintive strings and the thoughtful piano, I felt an almost instant groundswell of emotions. And I think I stopped and said, I don't know if it's because I'm tired, but I feel emotional already. And that was in 20 seconds or so. Then the voice kicks in, and there's this wonderful sustained note that carries through as you start singing. And what it does is it stretches out the horizon of this song. And we move from a TV ratio to cinema scope. I can
Yes. So you
almost
used a
sense.
word that goes off in my head every time I listen to the song, and it's cinematic. So awesome.
Yeah, I could almost sense the black bars, the letterboxing in my mental view.
Yes.
And I had to stop and pull it back and listen to that again. It's such a tiny thing. But I was blown away by something so simple as that adds so much atmosphere. And we've only just started.
Mm-hmm.
His vocals, which I have to say have a touch of the old school about them. There's
Yes.
almost I'm struggling to think of somebody else, but there's a little bit of Willie Nelson in him. Do you know what I mean? Just
There's something about the outlaw era country music that
that
is
that
withered
Willie
its way into
Nelson.
his
Yeah,
voice a little bit.
yeah,
Yes, I
yeah.
absolutely agree. Yeah, yeah.
What is it called? Is it called the Willie Nelson song? Is it called the Black Rider or something? There's a really great song he does, which I think it's called the Black Rider, but I can't remember. But anyway, his vocals have a tiny amount of reverb on them. Now we've talked about this before in recent and stuff. Why I said that just as distance, but in this case, it adds to the sense of air and space within this song. It's almost like the song is so big and the scope's so big that his voice is echoing off the outskirts, the periphery of this song, because it's so big. And I'm already thinking this could be an epic experience, and we're less than a minute into it. So he does sing something about horses coming over the horizon, which again is another sort of cinematic image. And the line "I spy a palomino in the front" is either, I think, double tracked or there's backing singers. By the way, it's a group vocal just for that note, that line, and just that touch is gorgeous. Then as he sings "Something Isn't Right," there's a tiny, I'm talking like quarter of a second, there's a note bending down, which I really enjoyed. It's just a tiny thing, but I loved it. It's a little touch. So with the strumming acoustic guitar and the pianos picking out a sort of meandering melody for the rest of the verse, and there's another double voiced phrase later on. And then the strings come in and they're just like basically saying, "Hello, here comes a chorus," and he sings "So Let 'Em Ride." But this isn't some sort of gaudy, thunderous, eye-catching chorus. It's more like the peak of the seventh wave. It goes, but it's just that much, just to let you know that it's there, but it's not over the top. It's really restrained, actually. But there's this contrast between what's come before and what's comes next, which happens throughout the whole song, which makes it, stand out. The strings then do this stirring, mournful two-note sliding motif, and that adds this swaying movement, which is, it struck to me, almost like the gait of a horse lazily dawdling through an open plain. And you have this thing with the violin and cello together. And I think I said in reaction, cello is like one of the saddest instruments you can get. Sorrow, on a stick. And then you mix it with a violin together, and it sounds like a mother and daughter consoling each other. It's just lovely, really is. Then you have this beautiful isolated acoustic guitar into the next part, which then is joined by a wondrous organ, and it's kind of a la Whiter Shades of Pale sort of organ. And what it does is that organ stretches time, and it builds up a soupçon of tension, which is then released where the drums and the rest of the instruments come back in. The piano again is doing great stuff here. They all are, to be honest with you, but it keeps picking, the front of my mind. And the violin becomes a bit more fiddly dee for a few beats before going back into its sort of normal sort of, I wouldn't say waltzing, but that sort of, classic dancing, whatever beat that is, Elena Foxtrot, I know that. But anyway, the next chorus of "So Let 'Em Ride," extra reverb, but hey presto, now we just have an isolated bass, and it sounds like somebody's creeping up on you in a cinema. Someone's coming around the corner, or they do that stupid thing that's so obvious, but they always do it where the camera is your point of view, and there's someone behind you as you're going through an apartment, and creepy noise on the bass. Loved it. It's a delightful change. The beat comes back in again, and with the drummer we have the accompanying shaker again. Nice touch. And it starts building up again to that sliding two-note motif for the strings, which just sounds even better this time. And then from nowhere, this like fuzzy, scratchy guitar just sort of clears its throat and makes itself known without coming to the foreground. And as it's doing that and the strings are going, you get this rising drama of the strings going up and up the octaves, which then clear out to reveal an unbelievable 5-second cameo from the guitar of Mr. Robert Smith circa 1979. Oh, where the fuck that's come from? Who invited him? You don't even have time to scratch your head, because then we are treated to a full-on sonic treatment And it almost sounds like some of that classic sort of 80s mishmash of, rock and orchestra sort of thing that's a little bit cheesy, but you just do love it as well. So you got synths, guitars, drums, strings. It's a war of pure enjoyment. And as always the way at this point, the electric guitar gets overexcited and has to have its say. So he starts doing this wonderful riff that comes to the fore and it does its turn. And then the sensible acoustic guitar brings it all to a close, which I really, again, really liked. So I didn't really get much from the lyrics. So, I mean, I noticed it more at the start. Yeah, I'm sure he mentioned about the riders. It might have been in my head, but I thought it was four riders. So I'm thinking, apocalyptic, biblical, maybe epic. Fucking definitely. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I'm glad you. Yeah, the same. We'll get into the lyrics a little bit later, but some of the things that you caught on to lyrically, the very little bit that you said you've caught, all things that I caught on and couldn't really verify anywhere. That's not like I searched it, but I couldn't find any direct references. But I think we're both right with our suppositions that we'll touch on later when we get into the lyrics. Also, just the cinematic feel of this and the way it was almost written to be seen, which again is crazy when you're talking about an audio medium, right? But regardless of that, or in spite of it, whatever, you get these awesome visuals that accompany. And I think some of the lyrics help you see what needs to be seen. And it's just such a great goddamn song. And I'm like kicked myself a couple weeks ago thinking of coming up with the next couple tracks. I'm like, why did I think of these guys sooner, or ask John if he was familiar with these guys sooner? Because they're really good. They've been around for a while. They've done some great stuff. Some of their stuff has appeared on I think one of their songs was maybe the intro song for Inglorious Bastards. And I know that I watch plenty of Tarantino shit, right? So yeah, really, really good band. I'll get into them in a bit here and talk about the song and album as well. But yeah, Murder by Death. They are an American 6-piece indie rock band formed in 2000. They are from Bloomington, Indiana, and their name derived from a 1976 Robert Moore film of the same name. And their current lineup consists of Adam Turla on lead vocals, guitar, and keyboards from 2000 to present, Sarah Ballier on cello and keyboards, and she's been around from 2000 to the present, Dagan Thorgerson, wonder where his family is from. I'm going to say Scandinavian. Drums and percussions, 2007 to present. David Fountain, piano, percussions, mandolin, banjo, lap steel, trumpet, accordion, backing vocals, kitchen sink, 2013 to present. Tyler Morse, bass and backing vocals from 2016 to the current day. And Emma Tiemann joined them just before this album, I believe, on violin. So that's when they introduced their violinist. And she's obviously still rocking around with the band. They play a wide range of music, including instrumentals, rock, and alt country. And the band uses cello with an electric cello in live shows to create this gothic sound with occasional Western references. And I think without explicitly saying Western, the cinematic visuals that you were given, pretty Western, right? Like open landscapes, arid ground, horses on the horizon. Yeah.
But almost like a modern Western, like No Country for Old Men, something like that.
Yes, precisely. So the band, oh no, forgive me. They would release their first album entitled Like the Exorcist, but more breakdancing in 2002, which is a great name. It's both awful and great at the same time because it makes me laugh. And have since released 8 more studio albums. Their latest release was Spellbound, or Spell\Bound, which this song is off of, and it was released in 2022. I believe this song, the thumbnail, was the actual record picture there. So yeah, that's what the album that Riders was featured on. The band often arranges themes such as whiskey and the devil into concept albums. So, for example, the band's second album, Who Will Survive and What Will Be Left of Them, describes a story in which the devil wages war against a small town in Mexico. And he has often said, he being Turla, sort of the brainchild behind all the lyrics and the storytelling, everything, that he really wants each of these albums to be like a novella in a larger series. So they're all, he really approaches his albums like he's writing a novel, which is why you get some of this, like, and I think you start writing movies like you're writing a novel, right? You want to tell a story. And his music does that, and his lyrics do that too. And so I think he's a really, really great songwriter. And I think this kind of music is perfectly catered for the storyteller. And he does it, I think, expertly. So I'm glad you kind of picked up on that on this first listen, how there was obviously a story being told there, and unfurled before your eyes and ears. So in a review of the album Spellbound, Treblezine writer Will Llewellyn would note, even with having a little light shed on the mood, they uphold their sonic identity throughout. It's just painted in new sonic colors. And while Spellbound might take some time to grow on you, each listen finds the subtle hooks digging deeper. While their palette continues to change, Murder by Death still seem passionate about their creations, once again delivering something that feels like the best book set to music. And of the actual track, Llewellyn would go on to write, Riders finds Turla belting it out from his chest with added passion. The song also spotlights newly added violinist Emma Tiemann into the spotlight, and throughout the album, the strings hold more weight in the mix. Riders is almost the best blends of rock elements with the subtler sounds of their more Western-leaning instrumentation. An interview with Flood magazine, Turla would speak of the song and the process for writing and arranging it. It's one of the stranger songs on the album, and the hardest to communicate to the band, but it came out great in my opinion. I had to tell the band, trust me, on the way we arranged it. The first trick was for everyone to learn to play every thematic melody. Then we arranged the first half of the song, which is sort of dark and ballady dirge vibe to it, with essentially an instrumental chorus. Then halfway through the song, band members start flip-flopping melodies, trading off who's playing which parts, and the arrangement climbs to a climactic explosion where in the live version, I switch from an acoustic guitar to an electric and just let it rip. It's sort of a dare to the forces of change that shape our world to do their worst, which is an interesting little blurb because I think that's in essence what the lyrics are saying as well. So let's get into those. Horses coming over the ridge. What a pretty sight. I spy a palomino in the front, but something isn't right. Slack-jawed meat hanging off their bones, death in their eyes, 4 scraggly riders on their backs, and only open plains nowhere to hide. So let 'em ride. Where the green runs deep and the river's wide, they've crossed your threshold. And come inside without permission against your wishes, flying across the night sky. It's auspicious, drawing down the moon these times. So let 'em ride. Let 'em ride. And I think there's obviously, like, for me, the first time I heard this and looked at the lyrics or confirmed that I assumed the correct lyrics, there was sort of this like Revelations biblical reference of this, rider on a pale horse, who is death or whatever, and there being 4 of them, the 3 others behind him, which is the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And
yeah, which is obviously Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
yes, those are the 4 horsemen. You nailed it. So yeah. And I think there is this, I think that refrain of just let them ride. Give me what you've got. You know what I mean? You're here. I'm confronting you. I'm not afraid of you, death. So bring it on. Give me your worst or your best. And I think that's really a really cool, take on facing, I don't know if this is his way of saying he's facing mortality, or perhaps someone that he knew that was facing mortality, but or just perhaps a really bad time in their life, and this is how he sort of made a metaphor for it through this allusion to Revelations and the Pale Rider or whatever. But really beautiful song, and I think really well produced and arranged in such a way that is super evocative.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely.
Awesome. Well, I am really, really glad you liked it. I will try to endeavor to bring more of these guys to the channel, knowing that you dug this tune, and hopefully it goes over as well as this one did. Guys out there in the listening audience, let us know what you thought of Murder by Death and this tune Riders, what it may have reminded you of. I'm sure that there are plenty of nods to other genres and previous artists that you can draw from it. Clearly, we did. And feel free to drop down any other suggestions you may want us to check out in the field below as well. It's there for a reason. We love interacting with you guys and seeing what y'all have to say, not only about the tracks that we've listened to in that video, but other tracks that we should check out. And please also, while we have your attention, like, share, and subscribe. Do any and all of those things if you haven't to this point. We really do appreciate it, and it helps the channel grow. We are trying to push to 1,000 and beyond, frankly, but we can't do beyond until we get to 1,000, and we can't do 1,000 without y'all. So we really, really do appreciate that. All that out of the way. Hopefully, John and I will see all y'all and more on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.